George Osborne, thanks very much for joining us. First of all, how would you characterise the government's response, and Chris Grayling in particular's response, to the chaos we saw with the timetable over the summer here in the north of England?
Well, what's clear from the report today is that everyone's to blame for the total mess on the railways in the north this summer. But I think what I'm more interested in as chair of the Northern Powerhouse Partnership is how we fix the problem, and the answer is glaringly obvious. Stop trying to run everything from Whitehall and from the Ministry of Transport and start giving the north of England control of its railways. That's what the Northern Powerhouse is all about.
You must have been watching on as someone who championed the Northern Powerhouse from the start, how ineptly the government were handling this process over the summer. The elected mayors that you put in place have lost complete faith in Chris Grayling and complete faith in the Department for Transport as well.
Well, you know, I think people are fed up with the way the railways are run at the moment, and they don't want more reviews and reports and commissions by the Secretary of State for Transport. What they want is action, and they want the power over running the railways here in the north of England to be given to the people of the north, to the Northern Powerhouse. And that seems to me the sensible solution to both make people here feel more in charge, but also to fix these railways.
In terms of devolution then, it's all been well devolving powers to Transport for the North, but surely it's devolving blame if that doesn't come with a big chunk of money to improve what we're looking at here is a pretty second-class railway system.
Well, what we need in the north of England is sustained investment in the railways, not just on the regular services that we've already got, because obviously they haven't been working over the summer, but also the big transformative projects like a big high-speed link across the north of England, Trans-Pennine route, that would really connect up the cities of the north, and I think bring in huge amounts of money into the government, into the exchequer, into the economy of the north, into the jobs it would create, and therefore is a project that would be more than worth it. It's
4 years since you first announced the idea of HS3 or Northern Powerhouse Rail, whatever you want to call it. We're no closer to a government green paper or a white paper. We have no votes in the House of Commons, yet it hasn't even been costed fully yet. Why are we still talking about HS3 and it's nowhere near being even started to be built?
Look, I think when we first started talking about the Northern Powerhouse, no one would have believed you'd be able to get the cities of the north, which often have these rivalries, cooperating. They are doing that, and there's a lot of progress in the north, but the big projects still need to get the go-ahead, particularly the big rail projects. After the mess of this summer, we now need to see power over the railways given to the north of England, and we need to see the big new lines across the north connecting those cities together and creating a Northern Powerhouse.
But do you see any evidence from this government, from this Transport Secretary, from this Prime Minister, that A, they share your ambition and your optimism for the north of England, and B, they actually are willing to devolve more powers? Because so far they've done absolutely nothing in terms of further devolution.
Well, look, I think this government, when it comes to the Northern Powerhouse, will be judged not just on whether it talks about the Northern Powerhouse, but whether it actually delivers real devolution, control of the railways to the north of England.
But is it doing that right now, do you think?
Well, look, I think we've had lots of promises. We now need to see the delivery, and we need to see not just reviews and reports, but real action.
When you see a report that says the DfT effectively had the power and the information to step in, to not take the assurances of the rail industry of this timetable rollout, and yet didn't intervene, what confidence can commuters have that they're going to enrol this ambitious project you're talking about?
Look, a lot of rail passengers, of course, don't have much confidence in the way the railways are run at the moment here in the north of England. We know it's a mess, but we also know how to fix it, which is give to the north of England the power to run the railways. Stop trying to run everything from central London. That's the way to build a Northern Powerhouse and fix these railways.
In terms of that ambition then to devolve more power, to invest more money in infrastructure here, you know more than anyone sat in the Treasury right now, their only concern is Brexit. It's costing an incredible amount of money. It's taking an incredible amount of time and energy for Whitehall to focus on what the Brexit deal will be, or indeed if there will be a Brexit deal at all. You know that Brexit is getting in the way of all of these projects, isn't it?
Well, look, I wasn't in favour of Brexit. I recommended to the country that we vote Remain, but the country made a decision. Of course, Brexit is taking up a huge amount of time and energy, and I think one of the frustrations is that if we weren't spending all this effort on those Brexit talks, essentially trying to recreate outside the EU what we already enjoy inside the EU, then we could be trying to fix the big problems this country faces, which is how do we deal with new technology, how do we get our schools even better, how do we make sure places like the north of England here grow even stronger. Those are the real priorities for the country, but of course we're very focused on Brexit.
In terms of Brexit then, if it is such a if it is getting in the way, as you say, a second referendum perhaps on the idea of a second vote on Brexit? Would that be something you perhaps support in the future if that was the thing getting in the way of investment here in the north of England?
Well, if you read the Evening Standard, of course it has anonymous...
People up here don't.
Well, you can get it on some of the trains that come up. Then you'll see what our position is as a newspaper. We think there are good options available to be in things like the European Economic Area. That's what my paper that I edit are recommending.
And is Chequers part of that thinking?
Well, you can read the Evening Standard for our views on those things.
And final question, just on devolution again. Do you accept that when you were Chancellor, and you were Chancellor for 6 years, that you yourself were slow to recognise just how under-invested the north of England is in terms of infrastructure, in terms of railway? Because this is a problem we know. This is a decades-long problem we're facing right here in the north.
No, well, the thing I learnt as Chancellor over 6 years is that it's all very well negotiating with individual cities of the north, and I went to Manchester and Liverpool and York and Leeds and had those conversations about what they needed. But actually the north would be so much stronger if it worked together, and then you would create this northern powerhouse, and that's what I came to understand as Chancellor. That's what I promoted in government, and now out of government, it's what I'm passionate about.